Hello and welcome back to another video in the world of Monster Hunter. Today is all about another build video. This is the Bazel Pierce Boom, and yeah, it's a light bowgun build that actually utilizes Pierce in an okay manner. However, it's quite a versatile build for a little bit of status, and it is centered around Pierce. And the reason I wanted to do this build in the first place is after sort of having a look at what there are in terms of Pierce heavy bowguns. I mean, you've got the Legiana heavy bowgun, the Tariff assault support, and then pretty darn soon we're going to be getting the Nostra out, which brings out a whole new level of Pierce heavy bowgun. So I wanted to have a look at what options there are for Pierce light bowguns, and in a nutshell there's absolutely zero. However, I think I've come up with a way to at least make one remotely okay, and I have been using it on occasion just for a bit of a laugh. It's not the quickest build, you're not going to do speed runs with this, but it's doable. I have done tempered monsters with it before. I'm just currently doing a normal boring Uragan at the moment just because it's within the relative time frame of what I like to try and do these videos in. So here we have a Pierce light bowgun. Strap in, people. So skills and equipment, just what am I using for this monstrosity? Well, the Bazel Typhoon 2, which hence why it's the Bazel Pierce and Zoom, Xeno'jiiva headgear beta, Kulvtaroth Aya beta, Xeno'jiiva claws alpha, Xeno'jiiva spine beta, Dod-Regnbue beta, Exploiter charm 2, and Rocksteady mantle. Now I do have a health booster, as you can clearly see. However, that's because I'm not particularly good with light bowguns. I don't know why. I don't like the added maneuverability. I much prefer having a heavy bowgun and just going haha shield. So if you are pretty good with light bowguns and you're wanting to try this build, perhaps go for affinity booster just to hit that maximum amount of damage. You don't really need it though. I feel like this weapon has a decent amount of affinity, and I've not even augmented the Bazel Typhoon 2, so you could possibly go with 2 affinity augments or an affinity and attack, just because this weapon does also utilize stickies, so it can be quite handy. Now, as for the actual skills, I have attack boost 4, critical eye 3, critical boost 3, weakness exploit 3, stun resistance 2, blight resistance 2, and flinch free 2. These are all just passive effects of the armor, and obviously pierce shots level 1, just because the main damage dealer of this is going to be the pierce ammo level 2, which is handy. Now I need to mention as well that the customization mods for the light bowgun are 3 reload, just so that you can reload all 3 pierce shots on the go, and simply because the recoil doesn't really do enough to actually make any of the pierce shots, minus pierce shot level 1, but then that's only 1 round on auto reload. I really only tend to use that when I'm trying to kite around the monster, and then once I feel I'm in a pretty stable position, I go back to shooting pierce level 2, and if the monster's downed, that's when the pierce level 3 come out, because the recoil on that is insane. Then of course we have the decorations. I have an expert jewel in the weapon, a critical jewel 2 in the helmet, pierce and attack in the chest, an expert in the gloves, tenderizer and expert in the waist, and that final attack jewel, sadly it does require 2 attack jewels, in the Dod-Regnbue beta. So you will be having to grind out some of the higher level decorations, particularly critical jewel 2, the extra and attack jewel, because you start off with 1, I believe, if memory serves. I kind of feel like the expert jewels are rare enough to be annoying, but not rare enough for you to go 500 hours without getting one. And pierce jewels, I know people that have 0 of these, and I'm happily sat on about 12, so I honestly couldn't tell you. And the same with tenderizer, I've got like 15 of these, I think, and I know people that have more hours than me, and I'm on about 700 hours now, and I've got like 8, 9, so can be a bit grumpy with the old grind and sniff. So let's go over how I utilize this build with pure stupidity, quite simply. Well, as I've already stated, I basically use Pierce level 2 as the majority of my damage dealing. If you are so inclined, you can just continually build or craft your Pierce level 2s just to get that damage up. The recoil on the Pierce level 2 isn't too bad to be undealable, and obviously you can still reload on the move. However, it is the Pierce level 3 that really screws you over, and you only really sort of hold 2 rounds of it. I did think originally about using free ammo or free element and ammo up, whatever it's called, but it really didn't seem to make too much of a difference, particularly when you come to kiting around using Pierce level 1, because there is no recoil on that, so you can sort of run around in a circle shooting your Pierce level 1s while reloading on the move as well. So it is a very useful mechanic, and it does kind of require you to know where the monster's weak areas are because of the slow damage. It's not exactly DPS. It does do some pretty decent damage, but it's slow. It's the problem. So you kind of need to know where the monster's weak points are just to make full use of your damage output, or lack thereof, essentially. You do have status as well in the form of paralysis and poison, which can come in handy. I particularly like to start a fight using poison just to try and get that out of the way, and then I move to Pierce level 1s just so that you can get some actual damage in. I then move to paralysis, and while it's paralyzed, I will go straight for Pierce level 3 and sticky level 3 just so that I can actually get some serious damage in. And after that, I will start utilizing sticky level 2 and Pierce level 2. And if by that point the monster has not exactly been grinded down to a bit of a halt, I still do have Pierce level 1s that I should have in a decent supply, as well as you can carry 99 Latchberry, is that how you pronounce them? Lechberry, to make more Pierce ammo just in case you are very, very desperate. However, this will also be for Pierce level 1. However, you can also upgrade that to Pierce level 2, but this is entirely up to you, your prerogative on how you want to do this. In a team composition, this weapon is actually quite handy. If you swapped out some of those attack jewels for KO, which you can't do because, you know, KO is level 2. I have tried to actually make this more of an interesting KO build with the more precise shots that this build actually requires you to do because of where it's on auto reload, and you've got a very small clip for pretty much all of your rounds. I did try originally to make it sort of like a KO build so you could constantly just knock the monster down and stun it, but it really didn't work out too well, so I just sort of, fine, I'll go for full crit, see how that worked out. And with the build that I've got, the weapon at base has about, well, with skills obviously, it's about 15% crits. Adding in weakness exploit, that goes to about a 65% crit, and then with level 3 crit boost, it can potentially dish out a fair amount of damage. But like I said, it is just slow and cumbersome, and it can get a bit irritating. But to be honest, I really miss the Chaos Gore Magala light bowgun from Monster Hunter 4U, simply because that thing had rapid fire pierce shots, and it was a brutal weapon. And I kind of miss that light bowguns don't rapid fire pierce anymore, so I really wanted to find a way in which I could make pierce, like a light bowgun, a thing. So this is the best I've really come up with. If you guys have any suggestions or anything, that would be great. I have actually looked around as well on the old interwebs, and I can't really find a pierce light bowgun suggestion anywhere. I'm going to assume that when Lunostra comes out, one of her light bowguns will probably be a more viable option, but she's not going to be around for like another week, so this is the best I can do for the moment. Perhaps I'll revisit this build when I get one of the Lunostra light bowguns and just see how that holds up. But in the meantime, this is a pretty darn fun build. I do quite enjoy it. It is not the best. I've definitely come up with better, even if I do say so myself, just because heavy bowgun for life. But this is a slight reminiscent, and it does work quite darn well. You can get some decent damage numbers from it, on par with some of the heavy bowguns. Again though, it's just slower, and it doesn't have the defensive value either. I miss my shield. Anyway, that is me. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, if you guys have any suggestions on how I can improve this build other than just putting a heavy bowgun on it, I am all ears. There is a comment section below for you to abuse me. Anyway, in the meantime, good luck, have fun, don't die. It's bad for the health.